words about this project. So we have decided to organize a series of seminars aimed to involve authors and readers in exchange of views on the topics of the articles presented in our journal. And I think these meetings will help us to get to know each other better and make our academic communication somehow more personal. I think it's very nice to see behind the name of the scholar his face. So I would be very happy if you all also switch on your camera so that we could see each other. I also think that these seminars will give a great opportunity to our young researchers, to our PhD students, to meet our authors who are well-known scholars and to talk to them. So thank you very much again for supporting this idea and joining us. I'm very happy to tell you that we have 120 people registered, 120 registered participants. So this is really amazing, and hope they all will join us soon. The topic of today's seminar is more than relevant. We call it a life and language in the time of coronavirus. Our aim is to stimulate debate about the impact of this dramatic pandemic on life and language. And I do believe that we're going to have an interesting discussion today. But first of all, let me introduce my team and our authors who are today with us. I can see Alexander Ignatenko, but I do believe that he is with us. Alexander Ignatenko, our executive secretary of the journal, and my assistant. I can't see, maybe he is finishing his classes and will be with us soon.
I'm here. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Please switch on your camera, yes, and
I'm already switched.
Okay, very good. We also have here Anna Borisova, our former executive secretary, but who has helped and still helping a lot with our journal. And today she is going to help you with the questions. She will sort out the questions, and you can send your questions in the chat, both in English and Russian also, and she will translate them. So don't worry about the language. And in any case, you shouldn't worry about the language, because we're going to have such informal conversation, and we will be using English as a lingua franca. So I'm sure that we will understand each other perfectly well. Okay, so Anna, have you greeted our participants?
Yes, hello everybody, it's nice to see you. And now I have a nice opportunity to see some people face to face, because I know lots of you by mailing. We were in contact a lot of times during my work at the journal. So great to see you today. I hope that the seminar will be interesting and productive for everybody. And as I have already said, it's really nice for me to see some of you now face to face. Thanks a lot.
Anastasia Borzenkova, our IT specialist, and today she is our technical assistant.
Yes,
Please,
hello.
Anastasia.
Hello, nice to see you.
Please send your questions, as I told you, to the chat, and Anastasia will invite you then, with the help of Anna, to ask your questions during the discussion. And please remember, while sending your question, to indicate your name and affiliation. Okay, now let me introduce Professor Douglas Ponton, a member of our editorial board and our dear friend who has been doing a lot for our journal. He is also today participated as an author of one of the articles on COVID, which we are discussing today. Douglas, do you want to say a few words?
Hello, everybody. Hello, I'm looking forward to the event, and it's lovely to see so many people here. Really exciting, actually. So, Tatiana, I'm really excited about the idea of having some new authors for our journal.
Our dear guests and authors from Jordan, Professor Saleh Al-Salman and his colleague, Dr. Ahmad Haider, are also with us.
Hello, everybody, and I am so delighted and glad to be part of this scholarly gathering. And I'm looking forward to have a very lively, interesting, and informative, presentations and discussions throughout. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ahmad, are you here with us? Ahmad, hi there, are you with us?
Yes, hello everyone, and I'm also delighted to join this webinar, and I hope it's gonna be productive and useful for everyone.
Okay, we're also happy to have here Dr. Monica Kopitovska from Poland, editor-in-chief of the journal Lots Papers in Pragmatics. Hello, Monica.
Hello, everybody. Again, I feel honored and really delighted to have a chance to see all of you and talk to you, and also to have published in the journal. So I will be very happy to share our insights.
Thank you very much, Monica. Thank you. Anna Vishbitska and Liv Goddard unfortunately couldn't join us, as it is 1 a.m. in Australia now, but we are very happy to have here Dr. Anna Gladkova, and alumni of Anna Vishbitska. She has worked with Anna many years and used them in her research. So Anna is going to present the paper. Please, Anna.
Hello Tatiana, and hello everyone. I'm honored to be part of this event as well. Thank you very much for inviting me. So I'm looking forward to the discussion as well.
Thank you. The discussion, also we have a lot of dear friends, member of editorial board of our journal, Professor Nilakshi Suryanarayan from India has joined us. Hello, Nilakshi. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Nilakshi, could you please switch on the microphone?
Right. Now, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, no, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. I'm glad that I was able to, get the invitation on my email. These days, I've not been really regularly checking my email because of just so many things going on. But I'm so glad that I caught this on time, and I'm here, and I'm looking forward to the discussion immensely. Thank you so much.
We all know dramatic the situation is in India, and we are really very sorry, yes, about it. So today's discussion is really more than relevant. The discussion of the pandemic in our journal was initiated by Anna Vishbitska, who sent us last spring her 7 essential messages for the time of the coronavirus. They were published in the journal and also on our site. Once again, Vishbitska has demonstrated that she is not only a linguist, but she is also a philosopher and a humanist. I do believe that you, or most of you, have read these messages, which are a kind of a guideline to all of us in this difficult time. To make them understandable to everyone, Anna used the natural semantic meta-language, her famous methodology, based on the most simple words which do not have any culture-specific components. Anna Gladkova will talk more about it. But let me read just one of her messages, which I find extremely important. This is message 7. It sounds to me, all the messages actually sounds to me like a poem actually, but this one is really most impressive. So Anna is sending us her messages and helps us to manage in this dramatic situation. Message 7. It is good for all of us if we think like this every day now. This time is not like other times. We can't live during this time as we lived before. At the same time, we can think about some things more now, not as before. We can think about things like this. We all live with other people. None of us is like an island. How can we live well with other people? We can think about the earth. We can think like this. We live on earth now. Many people will live on earth after us. We don't want very bad things to happen to these people. If we think about these things more now, after this bad time, we can live not like before. We can live better. We want this. Canberra, Australia, 29th of April, 2020. Actually, when yesterday I was preparing to our meeting, I was reading these messages, I was really extremely surprised to see that these messages were written exactly a year ago, 29th of April. This is just a coincidence, but I find it really symbolic. At that time, a year ago, we couldn't even imagine that a year later we would still have coronavirus all over the world, would have our own experience of fighting it, and would discuss this dramatic impact on life and language. So I really encourage all of you to read all these 7 messages. Yeah, they're very, like, as I told you, kind of a guideline for all of us. Half a year later, in autumn, Cliff Goddard and Anna Wierzbicka sent us the article titled Semantics in the Time of Coronavirus. Virus, bacteria, germs, disease, and related concepts. It was published in our latest issue, and you are all most welcome to read it too. But now I would like to invite Anna Gladkova to present this paper and maybe to share some of her fascinating experience of working with these great scholars, Cliff Goddard and Anna Wierzbicka. You are most welcome, Anna.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. I'll just start sharing the screen. I'm not sure last time it worked. So it says desktop, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't give me an option of sharing the PowerPoint, just the desktop.
The desktop is okay. It will work.
But is it actually? So is it sharing the PowerPoint now?
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Can see.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, Anna, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you, Tatiana, for inviting me. I'm really, really honored to be presenting Anna and Cliff's paper. So semantics in the time of coronavirus, virus, bacteria, germs, disease, and related concepts. So the authors of this paper, Anna Wierzbicka and Cliff Goddard, I'm showing their photos now. So Anna Wierzbicka has been working at the Australian National University for the last more than 40 years after she migrated to Australia. And Cliff Goddard is currently associated with Griffith University. So Cliff is a former student of Anna and a long-term collaborator. So I was very lucky to be a PhD student of and co-author, and I'm part of the research team that Anna and Cliff are leading. So Anna and Cliff are known for the framework, which is called the natural semantic meta-language. So Anna started developing this approach in linguistics more than 40 years ago, and it was actually triggered by her listening to a lecture by Andrzej Bogusławski in Poland, where he talked about Leibniz's idea about the existence of universal meanings in every language, which can't be defined further and which can be used to explain other concepts. So at that point in time, Anna decided to dedicate her research life to searching for these concepts. And then she was probably very lucky to migrate to Australia, where she found herself in a very sort of in an environment where linguists were working on very different languages, because Australia itself has about, I think, about 200 local Aboriginal languages. So her ideas have been tested by scholars in very many unrelated languages. So as of today, the natural semantic meta-language consists of 65 semantic universals. So Anna and Cliff believe that probably this is more or less final number for today. And I want to say that she started with just 14. And these semantic universals have been identified by mainly trial and error technique. So Anna has been trying to find explications to different types of words, and that's how she arrived at these words which can't be explained further. So they also have governing universal syntax. It means that these universals combine with each other in a certain way, and that's how we get some sort of mini language which lies at the core of every language. Apart from universals, this meta-language includes so-called semantic molecules, so words like hands, head, men, women, children, mother, water. So words which are likely to exist in the majority of languages and which are very much needed in explications of certain words. They usually can be directly explained via semantic universals or semantic universals and other semantic molecules. So the main purpose of the natural semantic meta-language is to construct semantic explications as representations of meaning. So I will be showing you examples of these, and they're usually checked by substitution test. So it means that if we take the explication and substitute instead of the concept, we should get the same sort of idea. So this is the map of identified NSM versions. So it means fully described NSM versions. So you can see that the languages that have been, studied for NSM are located all around the world, and very often they are absolutely unrelated. So it's a very, advanced program where the issue of universality is taken very seriously. Of course, probably it's absolutely impossible to test any linguistic hypothesis on all the languages in the world, but this is a very representative sample that NSM is using. And this is a representations of these 65 words or semantic primes. So these are very simple words, and they have been sort of tested in many languages, and scholars confirm that they can't be defined further. So I'll read some of you. I, you, someone, something, thing, people, body, want, don't want, know, think, say, feel, see, hear, do, happen, move. So also words relating to existent, be somewhere, words relating to time, words related to counting, characteristics, location, and some other logical concepts. So that's a general presentation of NSM. So what is the paper about by Anna and Cliff? So of course, in the time of the pandemic, where this unpleasant situation that we are all in now, I think everyone can ask the question, how we can make this situation easier? And well, as linguists, we probably don't have the ability to save other people's life or help, cure other people, but we can always help in, improving communication and making communication more efficient and easier and, more understandable. So Cliff and Anna, they clearly, follow this mission in their life and their research. And so this is a very timely paper that they wrote very quickly in this situation. So in this paper, they discuss how most, commonly used words now from medicine and biology, so words like virus, bacteria, germs, sick, ill, and disease, can actually be explicated using the natural semantic meta-language, and how they can be, their meaning can be communicated in an easy way. And, if we look at these words carefully, probably those of you who know languages other than English will recognize that, you know, not many languages have exactly the same words. So, for example, in Russian, there is no exact division in the area of sick, ill, and disease, right? So the words are actually have slightly different meaning. So, but these kind of ideas need to be communicated at this time. And also what's important that NSM shares the approach which is used by the Moscow School of Semantics, and particularly was very well formulated by Yuri Aprisyan, that in language, as linguists, we try to describe and identify the naive picture of the world. So it's different from the scientific worldview. And therefore, these explications that Anne and Cliff have developed, they actually the representations of naive or folk view of these concepts. So I will go straight to the explications because I don't have a lot of time to spare. And I just chose to speak about only one word, the word virus, but Anne and Cliff are discussing two meanings of it. So they're showing that now the second meaning sort of has already emerged, and people use the word the virus to refer to the coronavirus that, you know, that's around us. So they call it virus 2, whereas virus 1 is the major meaning that of this word. So I will read the explication of virus 2. So, and some examples how it can be used. Even before the virus, the economy was barely limping along. And now for the latest news on the virus. So what's actually the meaning when the people say the virus? So they explicated using NSM as follows. Something very bad is happening in many countries on Earth now. Very bad things are happening to many people. This is happening because there is virus 1 of one kind, coronavirus, in these people's bodies. When there is virus 1 of this kind in the bodies of some people in a place, a short time after, this virus 1 can be in the bodies of many other people in this place. Because of this, after some time, this virus 1 can be in the bodies of many people in many places. So what actually are they trying to convey by this explication? Component A describes the pandemic situation, that something bad is happening in many countries on Earth now, right? And it happens to many people. And this is because one virus is in people's bodies. So component B shows how it can be spread, so the danger that it spreads very easily, and the result C, that it is in the body, so many people become sick, okay? But the virus 1, the major meaning, is used in the following way. I must have picked up a virus. Colds are caused by a virus. Howard is out of the team after going down with a virus. So the explication is as follows. Virus 1, something of one kind. There are many kinds of things of this kind. When there is something of this kind somewhere, there are many very, very small things of this kind there. People can't see them. There can be many such things in people's bodies at some times. When there are many of these very, very small things in someone's body, a very short time after, there can be many of them in the bodies of other people in the same place. When they're in someone's body, something bad can happen in this someone's body because of it. People can think about things of this kind like this. These things do very bad things to people's bodies. Okay, so this is a sort of more general explication what a virus is. So I invite you to read the rest of the paper and find out what the difference is between words like disease, sick, ill, bacteria, germs. And I found this paper to be fascinating, and I think that there is a very great potential for this paper to be used in current situation and also in language teaching, because it explains these basic concepts in a very clear way. And I would like to finish with showing to you some resources on the NSM that are available. There is NSM homepage where the basic ideas about the approach are explained. There is a database of NSM publications which contains more than 1,000 references, which is called NSM Approach. And there is a YouTube channel which is called NSM Lab, which has videos of recent presentations on NSM. And these are just some recently published papers which are using NSM approach. So thank you very much. I probably have to stop now. I've run out of my 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you. Yeah, I just would like to add a few words because I would like to confirm by my experience that this methodology is really very useful for a second language teaching. I have discussed this paper with my students and I was really not surprised, but I was happy to hear from them that only after reading this paper, they finally could understand the difference between sick and ill, because as you mentioned, in Russian language, we have just one word. So I also encourage you all to read this paper and to use this methodology, these scripts for second language teaching. Thank you. I'm sure you are going to have questions, and please, dear guests, send your questions to chat, and then we will discuss all the questions after all the presentations, okay? And now I would like to invite Professor Salman and Dr. Ahmad Haider with their paper, COVID-19, Trending Neologisms and Word Formation Process in English, which also was published in our latest issue. Dear authors, you are welcome.
Thank you, Professor Tatiana, and good evening, colleagues from different parts of the world. And it is a great delight, really, and a pleasure and a privilege, and I am honored, together with my colleague, to be part of this event. In reality, this paper entitled COVID-19 Trending Neologisms and Word Formation Processes in English is a joint enterprise, a joint project, a co-author paper by my young colleague, Dr. Ahmad Haider. Dr. Ahmad Haider is a specialist in corpus linguistics, and I am specialized in theoretical historical linguistics. So without further ado, the title, like I said, is COVID-19 Trending Neologisms and Word Formation Processes in English. As we are well aware, I'm going to present a premise about language. Language is a social fact in reality, and it's prone to change, to evolution and development. No language, gets to a point of a standstill. Otherwise, it will be extinct and it will die and it will be out of use. So it will have to be vital. Now, changes to languages are brought by major events. Could be international, global, like wars, national disasters, industrial revolution, technological and scientific innovations like in internet and computer technology, for example. In our particular case, we have a great threat. We have an event that came so sweeping, so devastating, and it was so vicious, and it covered the entire community, the whole world. This is COVID-19. This very event was so vicious and unhealthy, and it is like an outbreak that came with threats. Part of the threats, let's say economy, social life, psychology, interrelationships, etc. Part of those is language. And language was tested to the point of whether or not languages can accommodate the changes brought by COVID-19 or not. Now, so we have challenges to take. And here we talk about languages in terms of flexible stability. Flexible stability. A language should be stable, but at a certain point in time, we will have to have some kind of flexibility so that a language can adapt, accommodate whatever is happening in the outer world. Now, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, the case in point that we are studying now is the emergence of new terms, which we call coinages, that have been called neologisms, new additions to language, to dictionaries. Lexicographers were so busy compiling those words, and scholars. So this is the focus of our paper, the emergence of COVID-19 coinages and the trending base of a global, spread of those. How did we interact with it? Like what we heard in the previous presentation, we had, virus, germs, and we have virus 1, virus 2. Now, what about COVID-19? How did it come about? Now, in this paper, we are going to address two areas. First of all, the nature of the COVID-19 neologisms, additions, and coinages. And second, the word formation processes that affected those neologisms. Now, our research methodology consisted of compiling a corpus of data. We compiled 208 words, all inspired by COVID-19, and they were collected by scholars, by PhD students, MA students, undergraduate students, and they were, collected from platforms, social media, like Twitter, websites, Facebook, YouTube, etc. Whatever we read, whatever we watch on TV, whatever we hear all over the world, to collect all those words and put them in one basket and to test them as far as how they were accepted by the English language and then disseminated to other world languages. Now, the categorization of the words and neologisms could be under different categories. It could be home working and telecommunication and teleconferencing, like what we are doing now. Nicknames, demographic information, safety, security measures, could be new realities and others. Now, the word formation processes that affected them could be classified into two word formation processes: single and complex or compound. Now, let me share with you some Now we have, I hope you can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have two categories of word formation processes. The first of which is single word formation processes. Okay. Now coinages. This is the first one, like COVID-19, which has been fully integrated into Arabic, and it became part of the terminology. Now, another aspect of word formation processes is affixation, like maskless, masklessness, this is affixation, compounding, corona coma, corona viva. When you conduct a PhD dissertation defense or an MA thesis through teleconferencing, this is corona viva. Blending, when you have coronation, which means a vacation through the coronavirus pandemic era. Quarantines, lockzet, it is a combination of locking down and then exiting the lockdown. Another example is clipping. When a word is cut, you know, instead of saying pandemic, you say pandy, and corona, rona. Another example is back formations when we vaccinate, from the original word vaccination, and we sedate from the original word sedative, which is an adjective. Another example is borrowing. Unlockdown has been borrowed from French deconfinement, which is to go out of your closure and curfews and lockdowns. Abbreviations like BCV, before coronavirus, BC, before corona, PUM, person under monitoring, working from home, WHF. Now, all of those processes were initiated to accommodate and to interact with the new words and neologisms. Now, acronyms like COVID-19, ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and finally, folk etymology. Now, we heard of neologisms such as nightingales and corona virus, pandies and pandos. Those are folk etymologies. Some of them came from Australia. Now, how about the dual processes that allowed for the neologisms to be part of the language, to be accepted, and to be integrated into the language? We have compounding and affixation, as in lockdown, downers, lock, down, and N affixes ER and S. Another is blending and affixation. When you have current teams, COVID entrepreneurs from COVID entrepreneurs, and we have clipping and compounding. When you have a clipped word being part of a compound, Rona dopping instead of corona dopping, and you have corona clipping as a Rona and corona. So here we have those single compound processes, in addition to the single word formation processes. Now, the fact that those processes have been effective shows that those words have been part of the language, they have been part of dictionaries, they have been recognized by lexicographers, and they will have now to ask that question. We have to ask ourselves, will those neologisms continue with us for good? For how long will those neologisms, coinages, and derivations have survival and resilience so that they will continue for a couple of years? Will they disappear after coronavirus comes to an end? Now, lexicographers say that coronavirus outbreak was so vicious, and unlike previous world events, it will perhaps continue with us for some time because it created some challenges, and those challenges would need more words, more neologisms, more integration, more adaptation with it. So we expect more to happen. But will those words continue forever? We don't know. Like in England, in the UK, the word Brexit. Will it continue for more, or will it come to an end, you know, in a couple of years? Now, another important thing, now, are they nonce words that come and go, a vogue, a fashion? We don't know. Now, COVID-19 impacting the educational system. Now, will we continue with e-learning? Shall we transit to blended learning or go back to face-to-face? Those questions are yet to be decided, and we can't have an answer. So to conclude, in the interest of time, you know, we say that COVID-19 inspired neologisms has proven to be a relevant research topic because they affected social health, the linguistic aspect, and they brought many changes. Now, the last question is, which I posed a minute ago, how much longer will the COVID-19 neologisms remain in use after the post-pandemic era? This question is still unknown. We'll have to wait and see if all of those 208 words, in addition to others that will be added to the list, how long will they continue with us? How will coronavirus affect our lives in terms of education? Shall we stick to face-to-face, have a mix of blended learning, or e-learning at large? Well, thank you very much. And I hope that I gave you an idea of what neologisms are all about and how they have been accommodated into English and other world languages in terms of adaptation and integration and the word formation processes, which assured that they have become part of our life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Saleh. Yes, your data is really impressive. 208 neologisms, amazing, isn't it? Thank you very much for presenting the results of your research. And now I would say that we're moving from semantics and lexicology to communication and pragmatics. And I would like to invite Dr. Monica Kopitovska with the paper co-authored with Radoslav Krakowiak, which is titled Online Incivility in Times of COVID-19. Social Disunity and Misperceptions of Tourism Industry in Poland.
Thank
Monica,
you.
welcome.
Thank you very much for this introduction. I've been trying to solve some technical issues, but I hope you are able to see my presentation now. Yes?
No,
Not yet.
Yes.
That's strange. Okay, let's
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Now?
now.
Is it
Yeah,
visible?
we can see it now. Yes.
Okay. Okay, it has been, I have to say that this presentation has been, as you can see, co-authored with Radoslav Krakowiak, who is actually, or who has worked in tourism industry. So it has combined, you know, I mean, both the linguistic, of course, analysis, but also the very practical insights concerning tourism industry and how it has been affected by the coronavirus pandemic. We basically wanted to see, to address various aspects of the interface between the crisis and social disunity or unity or solidarity and online communication. Wanted to analyze perceptions of professional identities of tourism industry employees, because there hasn't been so far, not that I know at least, research connected with the perception of tourism industry employees conducted from the perspective of discourse analysis or critical discourse analysis. And also we wanted to look at online incivility directed at tourism industry professionals and try to explain this hostility, the motivation behind it, and link it also to emotionality patterns within Polish online discourses. We've made a few assumptions. The first one that following critical discourse analysts, that several domains of our social life are constructed discursively, constituted discursively. These include representations of the world. So how we, in our case, how do we see the crisis, but also how do we see this particular industry? Then social relations between people and personal identities. So here, again, we'll talk about identities of people, of tourism industry professionals. We also assumed that cyberspace and its technological affordances considerably affect solidarity and disunity dynamics through the mechanism of proximization, which I'm going to talk about in a while. And basically we concluded, or we assumed, that both the content and form of internet comments that we analyzed have been shaped by three factors: by public perception of tourism industry and stereotypes that this perception abounds with, but also by culture-related emotionality patterns, and very importantly, techno-discursive design of the online media and the cyberspace. We analyzed the corpus of online comments following articles on the crisis within tourism industry in Poland. As far as theory and methodology is concerned, we have applied the media proximization approach, which I have been developing for quite some times, with notions of proximity and distance. This approach itself is situated within the social media critical discourse studies developed by Marcin Krosz-Rawinik. And also for our analysis, we used discourse historical approach with its focus on referential, predicational, and argumentation strategies involved in positive self and negative other representation. So basically, we assumed that all these argumentative argumentation patterns will act as proximization triggers, and they will both represent and shape public perceptions of the group in question. I don't have time. If you are interested, of course, I can spend some time on explaining the media proximization approach, but the most important thing or assumption behind this approach is that the potential of media in affecting public, when it comes to affecting public perceptions, is connected with the process of bringing closer to the audiences selected aspects of reality to which the audience may have access or may not have access. So the media will proximize, that is, bring closer selected aspects of reality, will reduce the spatial distance, so will bring closer the events that happen far away from the audience, temporal distance, axiological, so they will also work with values, epistemic distance. They will try to explain the unfamiliar to the audiences in terms of what the audience already know, and then also emotional distance, that is, they will make the audience emotionally involved. So the assumption behind media approximation approach is that the whole, let's say, influence of the media in fact can be attributed to this proximization process. Now, a few, I think, remarks concerning the cyberspace proximization and online incivility that you might find interesting. Some of them are connected with anonymity. So people, research shows that people who are not held immediately accountable for their words are more likely to rely on mental shortcuts, so and simplistic judgments, so are more likely to use stereotypes, stereotypical thinking, which in fact our research confirmed. Then also, according to social identity model of de-individuation effects, feeling anonymous, media users may develop stronger in-group identity, so will again have a greater tendency to stereotype and dismiss opinions of those whom they consider to be the out-group. And then also anonymity, which again has been widely discussed in research, is likely to encourage incivility in general of internet users. At the same time, cyberspace offers opportunities and encourages spread of emotionally loaded content in a way that cannot be controlled. So this will, of course, contribute to spread of incivility also and hate speech online. It has been often referred to as affective communication or bursts of emotional messages that involve many users. Sharing and in this way amplifying radical beliefs, which again is possible via social media, will contribute to stronger us versus them polarization, which again our research described in this article confirms. People will have a natural tendency also to become more groupish and defend our group and all those they consider to be members of our group, and again position themselves versus those whom they consider the other. Now, a few results from our research, which I hope you will find interesting. The predominant image of work in the tourism industry is that the job is neither real nor honest. So we have many attempts at challenging the professional status of the group, either explicitly or implicitly. Then the owners of travel agencies are explicitly or implicitly characterized as greedy, which is of course illustrated with examples related to investing money, earning good money, raising prices, and not saving money. They are also often referred to as clever dodgers or even thieves. There is an interesting opposition between the allegedly affluent, rich tourism professionals and the rest of the society, which is illustrated with examples mentioning cars and status symbols. They are perceived as, those who have wealth, and their wealth is attributed to exploiting tourists, which is considered highly contemptible. And interestingly, also this contempt is also visible in implicit questioning of their moral values. So we can read about their lovers that they supposedly have, but again, also what I've mentioned, the fact that they have and will have to sell due to the crisis their luxurious Mercedes cars or Porsche cars, etc. The parasite metaphors is often used to describe those professionals. So they are often referred to as spongers and exploiters. And another interesting thing is that the topos of threat is used. So tourism is presented as the cause of the current pandemic, which has two consequences. I mean, the anger addressed at the perceived culprit, so in this case, tourism industry professionals, but also the emphasis on the fact that we need to do something to avert the threat or the continuity of the threat. So in order to do so, we need to eliminate tourism and tourism-related activities. So we can see many comments like this. Our analysis shows that a public understanding, at least we are talking about Polish audiences here, a public understanding of industry dynamics is far from comprehensive. So, for example, people assume that prices in tourism-related services are high because it's tourism professionals who want to earn on this. So they make this link between the wealth of tourism industry professionals and the prices of tourism related services. At the same time, the work of the tourism industry professionals is considered neither hard, not particularly skilled, because it's not associated with physical labor, which is seen, which is also quite interesting and stereotypical, that this physical labor is seen as an indicator of hard work. Also, there's an interesting stereotype rooted in the Polish collective mentality that financial success is the result of fraudulent and unfair practices involving the exploitations of others, or at least exploitation of the system. So the topos of abuse will be frequently used here. The socio-political polarization, which we already have or which we have had for quite some time in Poland, creates a conducive environment for incivility, but this is additionally enhanced by the techno-discursive design of the online media, which further facilitates and amplifies the polarization and incivility. Cyberspace has become the platform where people have the opportunity to give vent to their frustrations arising from the feelings of threat and insecurity, which, as we know, have become particularly strong recently due to the pandemic. Additionally, strong emotions of anger and disgust make people more likely to resort to stereotypical thinking, which again, our research has demonstrated, not to mention the fact that anonymity enhancing stronger in-group identity has also contributed to greater polarization and, in consequence, incivility towards others. So as we could hear during the previous presentation, the pandemic has affected the language we use. I have tried to demonstrate, or we have tried to show in our article, that it has also affected our communication and our online communicative practices. Unfortunately, and of course there are many positive effects too, but this is one of the negative effects of the pandemic. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be happy to answer all the questions and explain things you will want me to talk about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Monica, for this interesting article submitted and published already in our journal, and for your inspiring, as always, presentation. Thank you so much. And now I would like to invite Professor Douglas Ponton to present his forthcoming publication with a very intriguing title. Never in my life have I heard such a load of absolute nonsense. Political satire on the handling of the COVID-19 crisis. Sorry for missing one word in this title, because you will explain your emotion. Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Tatiana. Just can I ask, can you see the slides?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. So I can begin, yes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction. Yes, no, the paper, as you all know, is a forthcoming paper in a special issue of the Russian Journal of Linguistics to come out. And the paper is written, but the title, I may change the title. I may change it.
Very intriguing.
But it's a nice title. Okay, well, we'll keep the title. So I'm talking today about memes. Memes, of course, as you know, are these images and texts which circulate on social media about a variety of themes. And I'm sure that all of us, from whatever country we come, will have strong memories of last year when lockdown began. It was an experience that was extremely strong. It made us reflect. It made us realize that actually to go out of our houses is not something that something that we've always taken for granted, but which suddenly was forbidden. And so what happened was that people began to have these emotions, these anger, bitterness, I would say disappointment, frustration, anxiety, fear, and despair. And as an outlet for these feelings, a lot of them turned to satire. A lot of them used internet, used social media to make comments on the situation and also to protest about their treatment. So in this paper, I'm asking what is the cause of the comic effect of the memes? Why are they funny? I mean, this is a tragic situation. So why do we think that it's appropriate to laugh at it? Well, one approach to COVID-19 memes can see them as part of a tradition of what's called in English gallows humor. So when you're about to be hung, you're about to be executed, some people are able to make a joke. And Goffman says this is a response to times and places of stress where matters that are extremely difficult to bear are introduced lightly and ironically. And I would say that the first image that I showed you, this one, Marty, whatever happens, don't ever go to 2020, it's simply a kind of joke. It's not really making any political point. It's just trying to make you laugh. You could say that wherever we are in the world, this image will say something to us, and it brings us together in a way. It generates a sense of community, perhaps, through humor. But there are other types of image which are satirical, and they critique those in power for their handling of the crisis. And this is an example which I thought would be obvious, but as I was listening to the other presentations and as I was noticing how many Russian people were coming into the room, I realized that this meme that I'm using to explain my methodology in the paper is probably very complicated for you because you lack the kind of English knowledge of English social knowledge. I think this would be very interesting for Anna Wiedspitska. She's explained this kind of intercultural aspect of language. So we have here a meme where the man in the photograph is a Manchester United fan, and Ryan Giggsy here, give it Giggsy till the end of the season. This will be Ryan Giggs. Ryan Giggs, who is Ryan Giggs? If you're Russian, if you're not interested in football, in soccer, you won't know who Ryan Giggs is. So this is an aspect of what we would say world knowledge. So the viewer's world knowledge. Let me tell you about Ryan Giggs. He was Manchester United manager last year in a period that was very difficult for Manchester United. They were very unsuccessful. They weren't, and Giggs was not successful. And so when we learn that Boris Johnson has coronavirus and give it to Giggsy, so Boris Johnson is not able to perform his functions as prime minister, so we need a new prime minister. And this fan is saying, well, let's give it to Giggsy, let's give it to the Manchester United manager. This is effectuating what I'm calling here a juxtaposition of domains. So we're juxtaposing the domain of football, which is a harmless form of entertainment, it's trivial activity. It's juxtaposing it on the political world, which is, of course, much more serious, okay? And the effect of this is incongruous. Now, incongruity is one of the main factors in explanations of humor. Why are things funny? They're funny at least according to Schopenhauer, who theorized this first, it's because it's incongruous. The idea of a football manager managing the country's affairs is quite unusual. And so this is why we look at it as in these terms. So I'm looking in the paper with the pragmatic tools which have been suggested by scholars such as Grice, Sperber and Wilson, Istvan Kertész, and asking of the memes, why is this funny? Okay, so here are some of the memes, which I'm sure some of you will know some of these. And you can see here we have different experiential domains juxtaposed on each other. So, for example, if you look at number 3 and number 4 here, if you can see the numbers, the Sheldon meme on the right and the Cure meme on the left. These two memes, I would suggest, map popular culture onto the COVID crisis, and they are essentially innocent politically. These memes are not trying to mock Boris Johnson or Donald Trump or Bolsonaro for their handling of the crisis. They're just trying to evoke a sense of commonality between us, a sense of solidarity through humor. But again, I realize again that these memes are perhaps not very common. In Russia, probably people don't know the Big Bang Theory as well as it's known in America. It's an extremely popular American comedy. And of course, everybody in America will understand immediately who is Sheldon. Do you know who Sheldon is? Why is it funny? It's funny because of the character. It's funny because all of us, we are being suddenly compared to Sheldon because we are also afraid of people. We're afraid of contact. We have to use social distancing. And these are new concepts and new social practices for us. And again, the other one with the Cure. The Cure was an English band from a long, long time ago. Of course, you won't know the Cure. And this is just a joke on a double meaning of the word cure, which is a cure for COVID, of course. The politics, medicine, the political comes in the last two memes where you have Donald Trump's incompetence mocked. Donald Trump is compared to the COVID virus itself. So Trump's ignorance, Trump's incompetence is being described as a mortal threat. Boris Johnson, again, when Boris Johnson, initially Boris Johnson was a COVID denier. He was with Trump and with Bolsonaro saying that there's no problem, we should have herd immunity. And so here he's being mocked, he's being compared to a schoolboy, so he's immature. Okay, so again, we have this mapping of experiential domains. This is one of my favorite ones, and this is a lady called Sarah Cooper. She's a comedian, American comedian, who came out during the last few years, really. And I think the COVID crisis was her big breakthrough, because she began to lip sync Donald Trump. So you watch her videos on YouTube and you hear the voice of Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump in his infamous recommendation to Americans that they should drink bleach as a way of curing themselves of coronavirus. And Sarah Cooper just pretends to be Donald Trump. She lip syncs him, so she moves her mouth. So what you get is the effect of listening to Donald Trump, but you're watching a girl and she's making fun of him, essentially, because you can see in picture 4, this is a bystander who's got a very puzzled face, so as if the person who's talking is not making sense at all. So I'm approaching a conclusion. I really wanted just to suggest that these ideas to you. Walter Benjamin, philosopher, said that man may run out of tears, but not of laughter. And this is something of an explanation as to why, even in the midst of a tragic crisis, we were talking earlier about the situation in India. We know the situation in Brazil. We've seen what COVID has done in our own countries. But even in these tragic situations, we find something to laugh at. I haven't time to talk through the theories of comedy, but incongruity is definitely one. And in the next quote about prophylactic magic, you see another theory of comicity, which is the idea of relief. So Sigmund Freud, the great psychologist, theorized that sexual anxiety is one of the mainsprings of humor, so that we laugh, we have a cathartic release from our sexual phobias. But finally, I guess my final part is really to open a reflection about the persuasive potential of memes. This is something that we don't really understand, and I've thought about the coronavirus. You know, the coronavirus has this spike. We know we've all become experts with a small e on biology, microbiology in the last year. And so they tell us that the spike attaches the virus to the cell wall and allows the virus to penetrate the cell. And so maybe I'm thinking that humor is like the spike. Humor gets us interested in the meme. We watch the meme, we laugh at the meme, and then the meme begins to penetrate our unconscious, our conscious mind and influence, arguably, our political opinions. Now that's an extreme, that's a strong view of the impact of memes. Of course, there's a range of different views. Some people might say it has no effect whatsoever. But I think that this is an area of research that we would do well to pursue. So I'll conclude there, Tatiana, and I'll look forward to questions and comments and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation and also for your positivity, which we really badly need this time. Thank you very much again. Okay, dear guests, so now it's the time for conversation. And I would like to invite Dr. Carmen Maiz from Spain to ask her question to Dr. Salman. Thank you very much, Carmen, for joining us and for being with us. Carmen, are you with us? Okay, maybe in this case, Anna, you can read the question. Anna, your microphone.
Okay, colleagues, we have two questions from Spain. And so it's a question from Professor Carmen Maiz Arevalo. I hope I pronounce well her name. So the first question is for Professor Salman. Well, first of all, Professor Salman, if you don't mind, I would read the whole message, okay, for you. So thank you for your interesting talk. Here is a question for Dr. Salman. Do you think this lexical creativity could be due to the nature of English? For example, homonyms, as great deal of monosyllabic words, etc. In the case of Spanish, for example, there seems to be less lexical creativity. We even speak about online classes using the English word rather than a Spanish equivalent. So thank you.
And Carmen is here already. She has raised her hand. Yes, perhaps she would like to say a few words. And thank you very much again for joining us.
Well, thank you everyone for the webinar and for the papers. They were really, really interesting, all of them. Sorry, I had to leave because I had someone knocking on my door and I had to answer the bell, but I'm back. Well, I wanted to ask you, because for example, in the case of English, I don't know if we are too many people to make this joke, but I've got a friend who talked about having an orgasm whenever she removed her mask and could breathe, you know. So that play on words, it's something that we don't usually do in Spanish. So I was wondering if this is because of English, because of this nature, you know, of the language itself. Thank you.
Now you respond, Professor Tatiana. Do you want me to respond to the question?
Please, yeah. We'll start our conversation with readers and with the guests, with potential readers. for the participants. Okay, please, Dr. Salman, answer the question.
Now, thank you very much. This is an interesting question. The nature of language. Would the nature of the language determine the degree of its acceptance or rejection of certain neologisms and coinages into their linguistic system? Now, let's talk about English. She said that English seems to be more receptive and accommodating to neologisms and coinages. And I agree, for the simple reason that English is considered the global lingua franca. It's the international lingua franca of the world. Therefore, like what you said earlier, I think Professor Douglas said that English is there first, and then languages may copy or take loan words from English, loan renditions, calques, translations from English. However, she mentioned something very important, which is about, that lady putting the mask and masking, and then cultural elements are very important. Does the Spanish culture allow for this expression to be transferred in all what it takes, or can it take a piece of it and leave the other? So yes, languages should have enough flexibility to adapt, to have an integration of new words for them to be vital and to continue to survive, because there's something which we call survival and resilience of languages. Otherwise, we will end up with language death, and we always need maintenance to the language. And this is a test for languages, either to survive, to take it or leave it. But I would say that culture is very important, and English still continues to be on top of other languages that copy a lot from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Salman. And the second question by Carmen goes to Douglas. Am I right, Carmen?
Yes. Shall I ask directly, or?
Yeah, could you please ask directly? Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. It was a lot of fun as well, apart from interesting. I'm studying memes myself on COVID. I think many of us are, because it's been such a deluge of COVID memes. And I always wonder whether there is a kind of global and local kind of humor, because some of the memes you projected were translated into Spanish, and I received them on my mobile phone as well, like the one of Trump. So it's kind of more global as well. And then there were some others which were really local. And as you very well said, we need this background knowledge and knowledge of the culture in order to really understand. So did you notice whether they're more global or more local memes when it comes to coronavirus? I guess that's my question. I don't know if I made myself clear, probably not, but I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think as it's, I mean, I don't know what to say, an intelligent answer. I'm not sure if I can give you one, but I think that, I mean, coronavirus is a global problem. And so I think many memes address the global situation. But I would say that especially American memes. So, for example, you knew the Trump one, and there are many memes about Trump.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like American culture is so dominant that the assumption is that it's a global culture, so that we all know who Trump is. We all know, and so we respond to that as if it is a global meme. So I can't really distinguish. It's very difficult for me to distinguish a sort of apolitical meme from the others. But I think, I mean, it's really, I mean, I noticed, just as I said during the presentation, how culture specific those memes actually are. It's incredible. It would be very interesting to do a comparative study.
Yeah, that's where I was aiming at, because it would be so interesting to see whether we have like the same jokes independently of the culture. you know, and well, that could be really.
Because, for example, if you take maybe a less prominent culture, I can't think of one, but American is the prominent culture at the moment, but other people from other countries will simply not understand that the humor in the meme. We only understand the Trump meme because we all have this kind of participation in American culture. So it's like a global.
The Sheldon one, exactly. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Thank you so much. Really. I'm looking forward to reading the paper. When is it coming out?
I think Tatiana can tell you, but I think in the summer. I think in August.
Okay, great.
At the latest,
okay, so Tatiana, keep us posted. You know. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks.
Okay, dear guests, participants of the seminar, some more comments, ideas, questions, please, you are most welcome. Please remember that our seminar is called Conversations with Readers. So, yeah, so for now it is more like one way. Thank you, Carmen, to organize the conversation. Yes, thank you very much. I most appreciated, but I also would like...
Thank you for organizing the webinar, you know, I think it's a lovely opportunity. So, floor open to more people.
Yes, it is. We still have a lot of people with us. Please, any comments or just opinions or suggestions for future seminars, please share your ideas.
Well, if I may just make one comment. I found it very interesting. I mean, I found very interesting the meme, Douglas, that you had with the policeman inserted into the painting. Let's say, a policeman giving a ticket. Because I have to say that sort of before your presentation, I was convinced that it was so typically Polish. Let's say we used to have, well, we still have a lot of hate speech against the police due to the fact that they, you know, give tickets and people have to pay fines if they are not wearing the masks. But on the internet, like on Facebook, you could see many memes actually with, you know, police figures inserted into famous works of art. Yes, so I was convinced that it was like typically Polish, let's say, thing. But it turns out that it's not. No. So I don't know, Carmen, if you also, let's say, if you also have it in Spain, for example, if we have it in other countries too.
I think that's a global one. That's what I was saying in the chat, that we also had the Last Supper, you know, when we had here that no more than 6 people could get together. So it was the Last Supper and there was a policeman there, like giving them the ticket as well. Yes, so it's that kind of idea, yeah.
But there's a whole sort of, there's a whole Christian angle there to look at, Judeo-Christianity, and there's authority, the idea of politics, police sort of policing our lives, and the policeman giving a fine to God. At the end, he's actually fining God. You know, he's not fining us. He's fining the man who created perhaps the world, the universe, and the coronavirus. And there's a whole, you know, theological sort of interpretations that you could go down with that one. So that is a universal meme, I suppose, not just a culture-specific one, but very interesting.
Yes.
If I may, I would also say the comments. Well, Douglas, it was amazing. I mean, it's very funny, and this paper really interests us all. And I would say about the picture of Boris Johnson, who did not wash his hands. Well, if we are asking this question, you know, whether we have the same jokes in our culture, I'm absolutely sure that we have almost the same pictures with Russian politicians, you know, when we are talking about clean hands or dirty hands they have. And I'm sure that I have already seen several ones. So if you wish, I will send you, and maybe one day you can make some kind of comparative analysis. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it'd be interesting to you know, what are Russian COVID memes? Do Russians react in the same way? It's a really interesting area for for a study, actually, isn't it? Maybe
Yeah.
we could work on one. Maybe we could launch it as an idea for some of our spectators and our participants tonight.
Absolutely, that's great. Our meeting is supposed to be extremely international today, so why not? We can see what kind of attitudes we have in different cultures. Not only, well, Russian or English, I mean, well, all cultures. We have Spain, we have people from Jordan, as far as we can see, lots of them. So why not? That's the objective of the meeting, to create some kind of collaboration which can be interesting and mutually profitable for everybody. And if I may, well, the second one, maybe I see that we have some PhD students today. So dear PhD students, please don't be shy and ask your questions, give your comments, and don't miss this opportunity. First of all, to practice your academic English, that's for you. And maybe to have a chance to ask a question to people who will write articles for international journals, who know how it works. So please don't be shy, don't be reserved. And if you are still here and with us, I guess it could be interesting and profitable and useful, mostly for you, if you share with us any questions or comments. And if you are shy, you can write it in the chat and we'll translate it, no problem. And I won't tell who wrote the question, so we will keep the anonymity, okay? Now, wow, I know we have the one question from Ekaterina Protasova, but Ekaterina, if you're with us, would you mind to say it by yourself, to ask it, would you mind me to read it? Maybe Ekaterina is not with us, so I will read her question. So what about parodies? Are they popular in all countries? So that was a question, colleagues. Parodies, what about they? Are they popular in all countries? What can you say about it?
Well, I can talk, but I don't want it to be just all about me. I mean, somebody else say something. Monica, what about parodies in Poland? Are there? Or...
That in Russia, parodies are extremely popular, especially now. We have lots of examples, so it's interesting to understand.
In Spain too. Yeah,
in Spain too.
It's a very common type of humor. But I think humor is very cultural, so maybe there are cultures where a parody would be fun, you know, they wouldn't find it funny. I can't think of any right now, but obviously I don't know all the cultures, so, but here they are, no, extremely popular. Yeah.
In Poland too, actually.
So I've just written a paper on another type of meme, which is an environmental meme. So you may remember this idea of nature is healing, we are the virus. Do you remember this phrase? It was, again, a year ago. There were all these, basically the idea that the virus was sent from God or sent by nature to sort of to cleanse the world, and that we were the virus. Well, after that, immediately there were parody memes of this. So you had people parodying it. Nature is healing, we are the virus. And then you'd have a picture of cows in the sea, and it would be the cow is returning to the sea, nature is healing, we are the virus. And that went on for ages. There are hundreds of these things, and they're really, really funny. And they're much funnier than the original, the original meme. So, you know, that's just a comment that I had, that a thought that I had. And it's the same kind of another research angle. But why the spoof is so funny?
I saw a lot of parodies in Russian, you know, about some musical parodies. So people, they change words in popular songs, and now they sing about coronavirus. They make something like, you know, video clip or something like that, and such modern platforms as TikTok and so on are quite popular. So, well, and yes, people find it amazing, and as you said, it helps us do not be so afraid sometimes, right? So when you are afraid, we are trying to do something fun. Okay.
I was just thinking that what you've said, actually, Douglas, that it's one of the ways. I mean, humor is one of the ways in which people deal with, or which helps people to deal with tension and, you know, the feeling of insecurity, sense of threat, etc. Along, the hate speech and incivility being the other, I think, sort of way. And I wanted to ask a question actually to everybody, because what we can see in Poland, let's say, in online discourses here is, on the one hand, you know, humor, as you've said, I mean, as everywhere, but on the other hand, incivility, as I've said, hostility. There's a lot of hostility, and there have been, I think, several groups which kind of have experienced this. One of these groups are police officers. So then, of course, this is connected with the fact that they have, you know, imposed fines, etc. Interestingly, another group are doctors. It's kind of interesting because on the one hand, we've had these signs of appreciation, etc. But on the other hand, they have been considered, doctors and medical workers, they have been considered a source of threat in a way. So, you know, there have been accusations that they spread the virus, etc. And the third group, I mean, the third group that we looked at, it's actually the group that we looked at, are tourism professionals, kind of blamed for both, you know, kind of tourism being blamed for contributing to spreading the virus, but also because they have demanded financial help from the government. I mean, that was the first group that have asked for you know, money, the government for money, and people said, wow, why are you asking for money? You have earned so much money, you have contributed to the spread of the virus, etc. So I think we can, and then there were, I think, more groups actually. So I'm wondering whether you have observed a similar thing in your countries. I mean, that, okay, there is humor, but there are also more, I would say, extreme or radical sort of expressions of this tension.
Well, if I may, Tatiana, is it okay?
Yes, please.
Yes. So we had what you said, Monica. It's really interesting because I noticed that here in Spain, for example, it started with the police, with politicians, of course, with people in the tourist industry, just the same. And then there was a very short period of time where all this rage was against the doctors, the nurses, but now it's over. It was very short here. And they're still the heroes, you know, of, well, the whole pandemic situation. But I was surprised to see memes against doctors because, I mean, they were working 24/7. And I thought it was really unfair. But yeah, but that's humor, you know, I mean, it's relief, let's say. I'm sorry I have to go. I didn't realize it was so late for me here.
Oh, actually, it's time to finish. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I would like also to hear we have another question. So the last question and we finish, okay?
Yes, yes, I have a question, but it's as far as I see, it's a question from our colleague from Rudan University. So, Professor Ponomarenko, would you like to ask your question by yourself? Or would you like me to read it if you are with us? Well, there is no answer, so just in order that we try to stick to the deadline, I would read it, okay? So first of all, how can the new language of the pandemic corona speak help the public make sense of the unfolding crisis, but it may also increase levels of stress? So what can we say about that?
I think this is a question for Dr. Salman, no? I think.
Well, it was not mentioned actually who is the speaker who should answer, but well, due to the performance that we have today, well, Dr. Saman, would you mind to answer it? Could you please switch on the microphone? Yeah.
Sure, no problem. Well, actually, those new words, the neologisms, they vary. It depends, first of all, on the degree of their impact on the society. You know, the society at large. How will they accept, for example, elbow, the elbow? Now, would that be accepted from now on until, let's say, 5 years from now? Would it disappear? So is it going to be part of our daily routines and social practices? Now, let me go to Professor Douglas's memes. Now, those images of Boris Johnson, Trump, and others, how long do you think they will survive with us? Are they transitional? The neologisms that I compiled, the compilation of 2008, very active now. Now, will they continue with us? And this answers the question. Now, it depends on the person, on the society, on our acceptance and interactivity with the event. Is it like a vogue? Will it come and disappear? Is it an word, a word that will stay with us for a year? Now, what happens at the end of the pandemic? And hopefully we will get rid of it soon. The sooner, the better, the soonest. Now, those are questions which are still, for us to answer or for the pandemic to answer. We don't know. So this is the way I look at the memes, Douglas. Will they continue after, the pandemic?
Well, it's interesting. I've got two things to say there. The first thing was regards coronavirus. So we have the phrase the Black Death in English and in many languages as well. This is something hundreds of years, and we still have this expression. So maybe coronavirus will leave us some words for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is that I was talking a while ago about the spoof memes, these spoof with the cows going to the sea, and these have survived. These are on the internet today, whereas the original memes, nature is healing, we are the, you can't find them. They're simply impossible to find. If you Google nature is healing, we are the virus, you get the spoof meme, you get the parody, and not the original, because the original was just kind of, well, people don't like it. It's not felt to be exciting and interesting, but the spoof memes are still, so I think it's what, I go back to, what Benjamin said, this idea of, we'll always find laughter relevant, in some way. We'll always find new things to laugh at. But I think the meme itself, of course, is a throwaway. It's just a temporary thing. So.
Yeah, I quite agree with you, because some of the terms that we have been using during the pandemic, the COVID-19, like super spreader, working from home, they are back now. I mean, very, very vigorously. And everybody is using them. So it could be like some of them will stay, some of them will disappear. This is the case.
Okay, thank you very much, Carmen. Thank you so much for your active participation. And please feel free to leave us. But to finish, I would like to give also an opportunity to say a few words to our dear colleague from Delhi University, Nilaksha Suryanarayan. Please, Nilaksha.
I will just take a few minutes. I was just going to add a little dimension from the Indian perspective. I don't think in any other country the coronavirus took such a religious overturn as it did in India, you see. So when it started, in fact, early in March last year, there was a big congregation of some Muslim religious faction which was having a meeting. And so there was a big furor about that they have actually spread the coronavirus in India. And then now it has taken another religious turn in this second, what we are calling the second wave, which is so dangerous because we are having great kind of religious congregations. I don't know if you've heard of this Kumbh Mela, where a whole lot of people take the holy dip in the river. So there were thousands of people doing that. So, and that has again led, that has spread the virus again, which is led to such an enormous amount of people dying, and it's like people are just falling like 9 pins. So this is an absolutely cultural kind of a phenomena of the coronavirus in India, and I don't think it has there has been such a phenomena in the rest of the world. So I thought maybe I can just give you a little insight to another angle of coronavirus, which is hugely religious in India, has a lot of religious connotations. I just wanted to add that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nilakshi. Our hearts go to India, and we would like to support you in fighting this terrible coronavirus, and hopefully the situation will be better. And now, actually, it's time to finish, and I would like to thank all our participants and everybody who joined us, and my special thanks to our authors for their submissions, for their articles, and for this very interesting and insightful presentation of their papers. I'm sure you will have more reads, and I would like to encourage all the participants, our young scholars, our PhD students, to read our journal, and you are most welcome also to submit. Thank you very much again, and hope to see you at our next seminar. Actually, we have, in the Russian language, we have such a proverb, "Первый блин комом," which means the first pancake is lumpy. At first I was a little bit upset that we didn't have proper conversation, but then thanks to Carmen, Nilakshi, and our guests, we somehow managed to organize. But I do encourage our students, our readers, to be more active next time, and we're planning our next seminar somewhere late in June. You are most welcome, and thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Professor Tatiana, and all colleagues. Really, it was so interesting, so informative, so professional, and God bless you all. It was a great pleasure. Monica, Douglas, everybody, really. From Jordan, I say, have a nice evening, and see you somewhere else after this pandemic we are over with, and God bless you all. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much.
We hope to see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, goodbye, colleagues. Hope to see you not only online, but in Moscow as well, when the pandemic is over, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, goodbye. See you.
Bye. Bye. See you back.
Я всех выгнала, скажем так.
Хорошо, давайте запись остановим, Анастасия, да? Запись остановим.
Да.